Fort Worth with Clarice Simpler, Chip Moody, Wayne Shattuck, and Brett Lewis.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Here's what's making news this Tuesday night.
It's politics in Texas, politics that could have a national effect. Republicans and Democrats alike are courting the Hispanic vote in San Antonio.
A huge push is on to get Hispanic voters registered, and a fundraiser is being held tonight to help accomplish that. At this hour, Democratic Senator Edward Kennedy is addressing the audience that helped raise $750,000 this evening. The goal in this registration drive is $2 million. Kennedy is very critical of Mr. Reagan's actions toward Hispanics. The senator criticized the president's cuts in bilingual education. Kennedy promised to work with Hispanics to restore the funding. The senator also claims Mr. Reagan has the most anti-Hispanic record of any administration in modern history. But earlier today, as Channel 4's Barbara White reports, Vice President George Bush told a totally different story.
Currently, 800,000 Hispanic Americans are registered to vote in Texas. By the 1984 elections, Hispanic leaders hope to boost that number to 1 million. And as Hispanic leaders launch what they say is their most exciting political effort ever, they're attracting the attention of both Democrat and Republican Party leaders. At a luncheon today, Vice President George Bush defended the administration's record on Hispanic issues, saying Reagan Republicans are concerned about issues that hit close to Hispanic homes.
This administration that I'm proud to be a part of, which has been most active in ensuring every American's right to vote. And it's this administration which shares the Hispanic values of, oh, and do we believe this, in family and neighborhood and church, Archbishop, freedom and opportunity. And we all have a choice.
While Hispanic voters have a history of strong Democrat ties, Bush was interrupted by enthusiastic applause several times during his 20-minute speech today. And Hispanic leaders here say Republicans do have the opportunity to cut into the Hispanic vote in 1984. The Reagan administration is obviously sensitive to the potential political clout Hispanic voters hold. Today, George Bush helped kick off a voter registration drive, and Saturday, President Reagan travels to El Paso to address the American GI Forum, a largely Hispanic veterans group. Barbara White, News 4, San Antonio.
Presidential hopeful Walter Mondale probably smiled when he heard the news from the nation's largest labor group today. The Executive Council of the AFL-CIO voted to endorse a candidate for president 3 months early, in October. Since Mondale is the likely recipient of that endorsement, his supporters see it as a big boost in the campaign for the White House. Chip?
Well, this Saturday, Dallas voters will be going to the polls to vote on the Dallas Area Rapid Transit System, or DART. DART supporters say the system will ease serious traffic congestion on our major freeways, while opponents of DART say it will be a waste of money trying to get Dallas drivers to switch from their cars to buses and mass transportation. Tonight, at a DART debate carried live on a local radio station, proponents and opponents of DART again squared off.
DART will be run like a business on a sound financial basis, and for the first time, DART will let us plan on a regional basis, adequately fund, and operate across a 21-city area. Traffic does not stop at city borders.
I'm saying to you that I draw the line at each and every government program which will take new taxes, in this case regressive sales taxes from all of us, and subsidize only a few.
During the past couple of weeks, DART supporters have increased efforts to sway voters through a media blitz of radio, television, and newspaper ads. DART opponents instead have relied on public debates like this one to get their message to Dallas voters. The tax penalty for living in the state of Texas averages out to $596 for each citizen. That information tonight comes from the state controller's office, which points out that things could be worse. The average national tax burden is $702, so Texans come out about $100 ahead.
Next on News 4, a police chief in Tarrant County is indicted on brutality charges.
Meanwhile, the U.S. denies being involved in Guatemala's military coup.
Wine is not going to be French wine. It's going to be Texas wine, but it's going to be very high-quality wine.
These days, nobody knows if interest rates will go up or down. That's why First Texas offers you a choice of high-yield investments. a Moneymaker Plus account to take advantage of rising rates, or a money market certificate to lock in a current rate for up to 10 years. The fact is, no matter what you think rates will do, First Texas has the right plan now. Beat the 80s with First Texas.
Sometimes it's reassuring to know your car will perform well. That's why stunt driver Michelle Slate relies on mobile detergent gasoline. After all, a car with a clean carburetor performs better. It's as simple as that. Mobile detergent gasoline for your everyday driving needs.
We asked a photographer to try to capture the spirit of Delta. Watch what developed. Have you noticed? Every shot ends in a smile. And when people feel good about what they do, they give you more than just a smile. That's the spirit of Delta.
The spirit of Delta is ready.
Some bad news tonight for the police chief of Richland Hills, A.D. Doug Davis. Davis was indicted today by a Tarrant County grand jury in connection with brutality charges involving the arrest of a 19-year-old man. Conviction on a charge of violating the civil rights of a prisoner has a steep price tag, a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison and a $5,000 fine. In the wake of the indictment, Davis has been suspended without pay. He is accused of beating Leonard Skubik in the presence of other Richland Hills police officers last March. On the international scene, the United States is now sending more aid to Chad to help that North African country hold off attacks from Libyan-supported rebels. The U.S. already has AWACS airplanes stationed in Sudan to warn Chad of Libyan airstrikes. And France announced today it is sending troops into the African nation. Libya is seeking control of Chad because it is surrounded by oil and uranium-rich nations. Meanwhile, the U.S. ambassador to Guatemala says the U.S. did not play a role in the military coup which gave Guatemala a new leader.
Already, he's taken steps to restore personal and press freedoms. But as Richard Wagner reports, most Guatemalans feel life after the coup is not much different than before.
Early this morning, it was hard to tell. Guatemala had a violent change of government yesterday. The local newspapers did not report a coup. They said President Rios Montt had been relieved. People today were generally pleased at the ouster of Rios Montt. They blamed him for high taxes, soaring unemployment, and in this very Catholic country, for his evangelical Protestant religious beliefs. Although life was back to normal in much of Guatemala City this morning, there was one notable exception. The streets around the presidential palace were full of troops and tension. There were rumors that soldiers loyal to Rios Montt might attempt a counter-coup, rumors that turned out to be unfounded. But the display of military hardware is a reminder that this is very much a country run by the Army. It's generally believed Guatemala's new military leaders will move to strengthen relations with the United States. For its part, the Reagan administration, although opposed to coups, is believed to be pleased to have a dedicated anti-communist at the helm of what it considers a critically important Central American country. Richard Wagner, CBS News, Guatemala City.
In other news, just an hour ago, the Dallas school board members approved a record $337 million budget. While 80% of that money is for employee salaries, it does not include a pay hike for teachers. Channel 4's Rosalind Solis was at tonight's DISD school board meeting. She has more on the budget vote.
To no one's surprise, the Dallas school board members voted unanimously to okay the $337 million budget, with the understanding any extra dollars will be used to fatten all employees' paychecks. That brought a protest from one teachers' union.
In light of the fact that there is such a large disparity that still exists between administrative salaries and teacher salaries, that one way to cut back on that disparity would be to have a salary freeze when it comes to the administrative salaries and reallocate that money back into the classroom.
DISD Superintendent Linus Wright's plan to set aside $3 million of any new money for employees of the 45 best schools in the district drew another protest.
It would be an insult to all teachers to offer more to a few when offering so little to the rest. Thank you.
Later this month, the trustees may vote to raise an extra $13 million to run the schools by raising taxes 8%. In other action, school trustees, who have their own proposed bond election to think about, endorsed DART and agreed to independently test air at 2 schools near a controversial West Dallas lead smelter. The cost may run as high as $20,000, but Superintendent Wright says that's worthwhile to pacify parents who are threatening to pull their children out of the West Dallas schools. Rosalind Felice, News 4, Dallas.
This fall, Fort Worth elementary students will put in more time on the job, as it were. Tonight, school administrators are meeting to rubber stamp a decision to lengthen the school day by 15 minutes for 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. That's being done to comply with state law that requires the school day to be 7 hours long. There are scattered reports of vandalism in the 3rd day of a nationwide strike against the Bell system. In Dallas, vandals cut 2 telephone cables and destroyed a connector box. Southwestern Bell says the incidents may not be related to the walkout. Union officials say there is no reason to be optimistic that the strike will be over soon. Chip?
So you like to have a glass of wine every once in a while. Well, listen to this. The University of Texas has signed a contract with 2 French firms and a Texan to create a large commercial winemaking operation right here in the Lone Star State. UT will get a percentage of all sales, and the aim is to make Texas wine as well known as those varieties from California. Channel 4's Quinn Matthews has the conclusion tonight of his 2-part report.
The University of Texas vineyards spring up like an oasis in the West Texas desert. UT has been experimenting with grapes for 8 years and is now trying to turn the vineyards into a commercial moneymaker.
There you go.
The partners in the private venture include 2 French firms with a lot of experience in winemaking, Richter and Cordier. But the group is headed by a Texan, Dick Gill, who owns a small winery in Lubbock.
We're going to develop here particular Texan characteristics. It's not going to be California wine, it's not going to be French wine, it's going to be Texas wine, but it's going to be very high quality wine.
Texas wine is not new. Thomas Qualia has been using UT grapes to make wine on an experimental basis. Qualia owns a small winery in Del Rio that his grandfather started 100 years ago, and he's seen the days when his winery was the only one in the state. But he's not worried about the new competition.
I think it's great. You say, gee, where's it all going to go? Well, Texans are drinking 24 million gallons of wine a year now. We have nowhere to go but up. It's showing the rest of the world that we're here, and we're not just playing around.
By next year, Gil Cordier Richter hopes to be making 1.5 million gallons, and increase production to 4.5 million gallons in another decade. For the University of Texas, it will mean money off the land, much as UT has made money from the oil below the surface.
The winery that will be built in these vineyards should be in full operation by 1985. It has yet to be named, but the wine consortium likes the name Santa Rita. Santa Rita was the name of the first oil well on UT lands, and appropriately enough, is the name of the patron saint of the impossible.
8 years ago, many would have thought starting a wine industry in the West Texas desert would have been impossible. But now it's well on its way to becoming a reality. Quinn Matthews, News 4, Pecos County in West Texas.
Should be interesting. Weather is coming next here on News 4 at 10.
And Ron Jackson says we may be in for some heavy rainfall before this night is over.
In Dallas and Fort Worth, more and more people are discovering a new name for delicious drinking water.
Ozarka.
Ozarka is drawn from natural springs in the Ozarks for a delicious taste you just can't get from city pipes.
Ozarka.
So it wouldn't surprise us if everyone started talking about new Ozarka spring water. Well, almost everyone. Ozarka at your door or store.
The weather's closing in. The road's getting worse. That's when you want the performance of Exxon unleaded regular gasoline. Higher in octane than most other unleaded regulars to help silence knocks and pings and give you the performance you need. For still higher octane, try Exxon Extra Unleaded. When you want performance, you want Exxon. Quality you can count on.
I
like almost all great chefs, insist on gas because it gives me infinite temperature control.
And it saves energy.
So everything, like my sauce, is perfect every time.
And it saves energy.
The flame adjusts instantly.
And I feel...
I would not cook on anything except my old gas range.
And I wouldn't have you cook on anything but this new high-efficiency gas range. It saves even more energy, and it saves me money.
Oh, merci, monsieur.
He likes it.
You get more energy for your money.
You get a gas range for your home.
Want a good reason to switch to Eckert System 2 photo processing? Here's one. We use Kodak paper, see? Kodak. But to make System 2 the best photo processing you can get, we also use Kodak equipment. Chemicals, quality control, and our lab technicians are trained by Kodak. Sure, it says Kodak on the back, but for the best reason to switch to Eckert System 2, just look at the front.
System 2 photo processing only from Eckert. Twice the prints, twice the film, twice the guarantee.
Meteorologist Ron Jackson has the seal of approval from the American Meteorological Society.
Okay, Wayne Shattuck has the night off. Ron Jackson riding herd on the Channel 4 weather station and taking a look at the radar. You've got some local activity to report.
Yes, we do, especially just to the north of Fort Worth. Some pretty good thunderstorms in progress. We're going to take a look at those. On the Channel 4 color radar in northern Tarrant County right now. Some pretty good showers and thunder showers presently coming down. Also down here by Corsicana, a pretty good batch of showers and thunderstorms. Now, most of those are heading towards the northwest at around 10 miles per hour. About an hour to an hour and a half ago, some very heavy thunderstorms in northern Dallas County, especially outside of Garland. Matter of fact, Garland earlier this evening reported some low-lying flooding and also winds up to 30 to 40 miles per hour. Satellite pictures starting from 3 o'clock this afternoon, and look how the clouds build up and work their way towards North Texas. Also producing some locally heavy rains in southeast Texas around Houston. Matter of fact, a tornado touched down near Victoria, did a little bit of damage, but no deaths or injuries. Meanwhile, in the Rocky Mountain State, some very heavy thunderstorms also presently in progress. Well, as far as current temperatures are concerned, a little bit cool for this time of the evening. Readings are generally in the 70s and 80s. 84 degrees coming out of Dallas right now, 75 degrees out of Tyler. Look quite a bit warmer in the Rio Grande Valley. Look at this, 92 degrees at this hour in Laredo. Current conditions at 10 o'clock, partly cloudy skies, 80 degrees, but look at that humidity. It sure feels sticky outside. 69%, winds are southerly at 10 miles per hour, and the barometric pressure is rising. Our early morning low of 73 with the daytime high today of 92. Officially at the airport, no reports of any precipitation in the last 24 hours. The day's length, 13 hours and 33 minutes. The pollution index out of Fort Worth in the moderate range at 72. Out of Dallas, quite a bit higher, almost in the unhealthful range. It was still in the moderate range, however, at 100. And the pollen count, pretty close to what it was yesterday at 1,295 grains per cubic meter, consisting entirely of fungus spores. This is the latest satellite picture from across the nation, and quite a bit of severe weather, to say the least, along the Gulf Coast as well as portions of the Atlantic. But much of the country had clear skies today. Matter of fact, afternoon highs in the northern plain states climbed up into the 90s and the 100s. The hot spot today, believe it or not, was at Pierre, South Dakota. It climbed up to 104. High pressure in the upper atmosphere continues to bring the very hot weather up into portions of Montana as well as the panhandle area of Idaho. This trough that you see cutting through the mid-Atlantic brought some cooler temperatures to the Great Lakes states. Readings were only into the 70s and 80s today. This is the current national map, and here's what we have going on. Tropical moisture presently over most of the Gulf Coast states. Now, when we do have tropical moisture in association with an upper air disturbance, it usually doesn't produce any severe weather, but it does have the capability of producing some locally heavy rains, and I think by tomorrow we'll be more or less in that same type of weather pattern until clearing out toward the end of the week. The forecast map, according to computer analysis, shows scattered shower activity in the southern half of the state, sunny and hot conditions in the midsection of the country, scattered thunder showers expected for the Colorado Rockies. Here's my forecast, partly cloudy, mild, with a few scattered thunder showers. Most of them should be over by midnight, an overnight low of 73. For tomorrow, partly cloudy, warm, with afternoon scattered thunder showers, a high near 95. For Thursday, fair to partly cloudy with scattered thunder showers, a high near 95 once again. Friday, mostly sunny, scattered thunder showers, highs in the mid-90s. Saturday, fair to partly cloudy with a better chance of thunder showers by the weekend, highs generally in the mid-90s.
Kind of odd to see the Dakotas having higher temperatures than we are down here in Texas this time of year.
Usually the desert Southwest does, but Pierre, South Dakota, 104?
Surprise. Thanks, Ron.
In sports, the Rangers went for 2 against the Red Sox. And White Lightning makes his bid at Cowboy Camp. Brett Lewis has Top Sports next.
Wendy's chicken sandwich is made of pure boneless breast of chicken. Has taco salad and a cool frosty too.
Only Wendy's and Wendy's alone.
A salad bar like we do. And, little darlings,
You can't get all this at those other famous hamburger places.
Only Wendy's.
We've got to sell our house.
Yeah, but where are we going to find a buyer?
It's not easy. Let me get started.
A Century 21 office can find a buyer across town or across the country.
Gotta keep looking.
With over 6,000 offices, we have more buyers.
Sounds perfect. When can they fly in?
And we can show them how to afford it.
Congratulations.
We sold it?
We sold it!
Whether you're moving across town or across the country, a Century 21 office in the Metroplex area can really help. Call us today.
Ooh, clingy clothes.
Get the only lemon freshen detergent for a clean that breaks the static barrier. Fab with full-strength fabric softener.
Full-strength fabric softener plus full-strength detergent and Fab? Fabulous. No more staticky socks. And look, this is really clean.
Funny soft, Mom.
And lemony fresh.
Get a clean that breaks the static barrier.
Oh, Fab, we're glad there's full-strength fabric softener in you.
Ranger fans can feel good about the team because they do put out a lot of effort.
I don't want to sound like a shameless homer here, but they really do deserve some credit this year. And I guess it still goes in the loss column, but they lose games 6-5 where they could have quit when they were down 6-0. Some of them they come back and win, but they are fighting most of this year. And they made a comeback tonight against Boston Red Sox, but it wasn't far enough. The Red Sox led 6-0 in Boston with Dave Hostetler knocked in 2 runs with a single in the 6th. George Wright and Billy Sample got solo homers later on, but not enough. Boston wins 6-4. Tony Armas had a 2-run homer off Rangers starter Rick Honeycutt. The two teams wrap up their series tomorrow night in Boston. In Detroit, the Tigers had led this game over the White Sox 4-0 at one point. That single in the top of the 8th by Scott Fletcher tied it 5-5 between the Chicago White Sox and Detroit Tigers. Now, bases loaded, Rudy Law walks in the winning run, and the White Sox go 6 games ahead of the Rangers in the American League West with a 6-5 victory. In New York, the Toronto Blue Jays jumped all over Yankee starter Shane Rawley in the first. 3 runs, 2 of them on Cliff Johnson's homer. And here's the reaction by Yankee manager Billy Martin. They added 2 more in the third and coasted to an 8-0 win. Dave Steve got the win with a 3-hitter. Other American League scores, it was Baltimore losing to Cleveland by a final of 4-3, Kansas City over Milwaukee 8-2. And your set might have gone wrong because it sounded like a 4-3, and that was a 4-3. In the National League, Cubs over the Cards. Montreal beat the Mets. It was the Phillies losing to Pittsburgh. Atlanta topped San Francisco. San Diego beat Houston. LA has come back to tie Cincinnati in the ninth. Back to the Yankees for a moment. Their famous Pine Tar game with the Kansas City Royals will be replayed August 18th. That's the game originally awarded to the Yankees because Kansas City's George Brett had an illegal bet. Then the ruling was overturned. At first, the Yankees said they wouldn't show up for the August 18th game, but now say they will. Doug Williams is 28 today. He is also very rich today. Williams has turned down a new contract offer from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of the National Football League and instead has signed a 5-year deal with the Oklahoma Outlaws, an expansion team in the United States Football League. There are rumors that put his salary close to $500,000 a year. Happy birthday, Doug. There are a number of Dallas Cowboys second-teamers challenging for starting jobs this summer, but Kevin McCarthy reports from training camp in Thousand Oaks, California. One very good athlete will have to stay used to the bench for a while longer.
The good news is he's young, healthy, good-looking, and the fastest man on the Dallas Cowboys. The bad news is, if you're the guy that answers to that description, you're spending most of your time on the bench. Doug Donnelly is faster than a speeding Dorsett and able to leap for high passes in a single bound. But as the number 4 man at a position that barely has enough playing time for the 3 veterans ahead of him, the guy his teammates call White Lightning has yet to strike on the playing field.
That's not 9 yards. It's only 7. You almost ran over the 20-yard marker right there.
Drew Pearson, of course, is the clutch guy, the guy that has the most years in the league and has always made the big catch and the clutch catch. Tony's the guy that makes the long catch, you know, the big play in the game. And Butch is the kind of guy who can play anywhere and make several big catches for you, but he can play in several positions. And I think Donnelly's the young guy who's got the blinding speed and who's the guy that has the potential of doing several things for you in the future once he gets some experience.
The only rap on Donnelly from Cowboy coaches is that so far he's been injury-prone.
Yeah, not so much bumps and bruises, but pulled muscles. And anytime you're a receiver and you have a pulled muscle, it's tough. And I did a lot of weight training this off-season, which has helped my legs. And I've prevented all those injuries, and I'm healthy.
If Donnelly stays healthy, and if the Cowboys follow the NFL trend and use 3 and even 4 wide receiver sets more often, this will be the year the coaches, fans, and even a few reporters find out just what White Lightning can do with his speed. Doug, what I really want to know is how fast is 4.3 in the 40?
You really don't want to know.
Oh, what I want to know.
I don't think you do.
I want to race.
All right, one race.
One race.
All right.
Okay, here we go. Ready? Set. That's pretty fast. Kevin McCarthy, Sports 4, Thousand Oaks, California.
That is what we're talking about, speed, why he gets the name White Lightning.
That is fast.
Fast, indeed.
All right, well, Channel 4's Jocelyn White is on the town tonight with a woman of many talents. Stay tuned.
When you compare the Subaru 4-door to the Honda Accord head-on, you find that both get great mileage. Both have front-wheel drive, and both have good reputations for durability. Yet the Honda Accord costs $1,400 more than the Subaru 4-door. Makes you wonder which one is really the economy car. Subaru, inexpensive and built to stay that way.
It's your empty go. Time of the week.
That's Group W Cable. One of our representatives is coming to see you, and he
or she
will help you discover
how wonderful TV can be.
You'll get hit movies, uncut and uninterrupted.
Big-time sports and more.
We've got an entertainment package that's just right for you.
So say hello to Group W Cable and
wonderful TV can be.
Give us a call.
And finally tonight, Jocelyn White is on the town. This time she's at Fair Park Music Hall in Dallas, where Shirley MacLaine is kicking up her heels in her new road show. Jocelyn?
Thanks, Clarice. Let me refresh your memory just a little bit. Shirley MacLaine has won 5 Emmys. She's been nominated for 5 Academy Awards, and she's written 3 books. One is recently on the bestseller list. But when I talked with her earlier today, she said that she considers herself first and foremost a member of the stage. And that was obvious to the members of tonight's opening night audience. Now, there is lots of singing and dancing and acting in this show, and there are some spoofs of Shirley MacLaine's famous friends. I guess you could say this show is packed.
It's like a potpourri of things. It's a theatrical presentation of things that I love doing. It's not a Las Vegas extravaganza by any means.
But it is an hour and a half of Shirley MacLaine and company, and she never leaves the stage during the entire performance.
I feel that if the people have come to see me, then I should do it.
And she does it in fine style. I think this is probably the hottest summer musical so far this season. Shirley MacLaine loves what she does, and it's infectious. In fact, the show got over about a half an hour ago, and there is a whole gallery of people here waiting to make sure that I say nice things about her because they enjoyed her show just about that much. And Chip and Clarice, there's one thing I want to say. There's been a lot of controversy about Shirley MacLaine's book, Out on a Limb. It's about her beliefs on religion and reincarnation. Well, I talked with her. The interview was so good that we're saving it, and we're going to use it on Live at 5 on Thursday. So you guys take a minute away before you do the 6 o'clock news and watch that then, too.
Okay, and in addition to her many accomplishments on stage and in books, she also has a very famous brother, doesn't she?
I knew you would mention that. She doesn't talk about him too much, although she did mention him one time on stage.
Well, who's that?
Oh, Chip. Warren Beatty.
Oh.
Thought you might remember that.
Oh, yeah. Well, obviously you girls aren't being deferential to me. I didn't know that. See, I wasn't versed in that particular showbiz business. In any event, okay. Thank you, Jocelyn. Sure. And with that, we'll wrap up this Tuesday night edition of News 4 at 10. Remember, Ron says tomorrow will be partly cloudy, hot, humid, and a few scattered thunderstorms.
Now for Chip and the rest of us here at News 4, I'm Clarice Tinsley. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.